Welcome back to the Canadian Gun Vault Behind the Vault Door. My name is Mark Morelli. I'll be your podcast host. Joining me today is none other than the living legend himself, FourFists. FourFists, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Instagram sensation, long-range shooter, and one of my favorite three-gun guys. What's that competition that you participate in that I really dig?
It was a PRS style match, like a precision rifle series kind of match.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. So a little bit more of a smaller series, kind of like a club event.
Yeah.
We did it out in Petawawa. On their military base, reaches out to like 600 meters.
600.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a snap and shoot kind of match.
This is like a short range match for you.
Yeah, sort of.
600 meters. Like, I'm trying to imagine a world. Like, I typically shoot handguns mostly, and I've enjoyed rifles. I'm an open sight kind of guy. I know you spend a lot more time with glass and optics than I would. I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I started. The first time I shot my first gun was in the cadets. That my buddy maybe kind of joined because I made him join boxing. Like 2 months into it, he was all like, "Oh, we get to go to the shooting range." I'm like, "What? Seriously? I get to go to the range? I get to shoot some guns? This is freaking sick!" So we went out to Borden, and I honestly, because it was so long ago, because I'm an old man now. I can't remember what gun we were using.
You're a bastard. I know you're younger than me. So,
it was whatever the cadets were using at the time. It was semi-auto. It was magazine fed. Yeah. I honestly couldn't even tell you if it was like an M1 Grand or.
How long ago are we talking now?
Oh, 16. So shit, that had to be.
Are we talking the 80s here?
90s. We'd be talking like mid 90s. I think it was around like 97.
All right.
96, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet that you probably got to fire some. Was it a big gun? Was it like a good full size rifle?
Yeah, it was wooden stock.
Oh, dude, you fired a C1. I guarantee.
I don't even.
Dude,
I know it was gas adjustable because he was making fun of me because he was like on the way to the range, like, this thing's got 11 settings on it. When we get to yours, I'm going to be spotting for you, and I'm going to crank that thing up to 11. Your shoulder's going to be killing you. And
okay, all right. I'm gonna put an end to the debate right now. You were firing an FN FAL C1 Canadian battle rifle. That's what you got to say. Podcast Brian's going to be losing his mind right now. You got to fire one of the famous rifles in our culture. That's the C1 battle rifle, the right arm of the free world. And I mean, that was your first experience.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
And mine too.
It was fun. Like, it had no optics on it. It was iron sights.
Yeah.
Like I said, my buddy was beside me. His dream was to join the military. His dream was to become a long range shooter.
Yeah.
That he was like diehard for it. And he knew, even for our age, like at 16, he knew a lot, a lot. And I guess I could take it up to being a natural shooter. But also being able to take in the information that he was giving me, and being able to transfer that into what I was doing that exact moment in time. So we started at 100 meters, and I was hitting the target just fine, and you'd be calling the shots. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, let's reach out to 200, because they had targets at 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So I went out to 200, and he was explaining the bullet drop and everything to me. This stuff like I knew absolutely nothing about. The only thing that I ever shot in my life at this point was a pellet gun.
Yeah.
So I went out to 200, and he pretty much gave me kind of an estimation of like how much the bullet was going to drop.
Yeah.
How much I would have to hold up on it. Took the shot, hit the target. He's praised me for it. He was all like, do it like 2 or 3 more times. So I did it. And then he was just quickly explaining, like, if you go out to 300, the bullet drop's going to be even more intense.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot faster. So, he's like guesstimating. He's like, your bullet's probably going to drop about this much. You probably have to hold it up about this much. He wasn't telling me to go for 300, but I just take the next shot.
Yeah.
And he was all like, oh, you missed. And I was like, check the 300. And he checked the 300. He's like, oh, holy shit. About an hour and a half later into the shooting, I was hitting 500 meters, iron sights.
Yeah.
The groupings, I'm guessing, were pretty impressive. I remember the groupings were like 10 inches.
Nice.
At 500 meters.
Yeah.
And everybody was standing there just like looking at me like, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
I actually had one of the guys in the base, he came up to me and he was like, I'm guessing your grandfather, your father's been taking you hunting.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, my father's actually got a firearms ban on him back from like the 70s. And yeah, guns are not allowed in my house. And, and I don't know my grandfather, so I'm like, the only thing I've ever used in my life was a pellet gun.
Yeah.
This is like the very first time. And he was trying really hard to convince me to join the military when I became of age, which in the back of my head, it was a solid no.
Yeah.
And not that I'm against the military. I'm for them very much.
Yeah.
It's just at that day and age, the idea of me having, being yelled and screamed at by somebody kind of drove me nuts. Like I was 16 at the point, and I had guys that were like almost 18 years old yelling and screaming at me doing this stuff, which made me kind of really like want to rip their heads off their shoulders. So it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. Here we are, right? I'm 40 years old now, and looking back on it, I kind of wish I did do it.
Really?
Yeah. Just because, again, so much different in my youth than I am as an adult now.
Absolutely.
I have so much more respect for the military and law enforcement now than I did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Like we've talked many times about like my upbringing and stuff, and how my family was very much against law enforcement, and how things have changed. So in hindsight, if I knew what I knew now, going back then, I wish I made like different decisions, obviously.
You know what? I've seen you shoot a couple of things in all this. Listening to you speak is fascinating, by the way. I love the fact that we're having this conversation because it's something I've been wanting to do for quite some time. For those of you that have never seen FourFists shoot before, he has this wonderful penchant for creating, clover leaf shaped holes in a target, and you're quite the long range shooter. And you know what? Some people just take to it very naturally. I've noticed over the years that a lot of people that never expected that they would be really great shots turn out to be fantastic sharpshooters. And when I say that, I mean like a lab tech, a young lady who's used to working with fine instruments and doing things underneath the a set of what do they call them, loops, like working fine instruments and having fine motor skills and just having a degree of focus that not everybody has. I've seen people really come alive on the range and realize that they're really good at this, and you're one of those people. I know that. And for the people out there that have never tried shooting that I've encouraged to go out, I mean, a lot of them surprised themselves at how good they actually are. The second thing, pellet guns. I'll tell you right now, I have always maintained that people that start their shooting life out shooting pellet guns always turn out to be incredible shots, and it's not because they're they have better sight or just pellet guns eliminate the distraction of muzzle report or noise and recoil, and really allow people to focus on things like trigger control and form and and their breathing, and people that are young and start off with pellet guns and are actually focused get really good with long range rifles, which I know is your favorite. I mean,
absolutely.
You're one of those people that love all facets of shooting, and I know that. I mean, I've seen you shoot handguns and I've seen you in competitions before. I know how much you love this community, and to get you here on the show is a real pleasure for me. I got to tell you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure being
here. No, it's cool. It's long overdue. But I know though that you have a real affinity for the long range stuff. And so I'm curious to know what your thoughts were when you were looking at the ban list that came out. I mean, you heard the information when the rest of us did, and you saw the announcement. I mean, your thoughts. I mean, you only got into this a couple of years ago. I know you have a good amount of money invested, and personally, you've invested time, and your interest level is very high in this. What are your thoughts regarding the ban? I mean, thoughts? I say that, folks. I'm actually, hold on. I'm sitting in my car 6 feet away from him. He's holding the mic. I'm actually going to put on my seatbelt because I know that I may regret this. FourFists is a composed gentleman, but he feels very passionate about this subject. I'm a little nervous, right? But what were your first thoughts when you heard the announcement?
I thought the announcement was going to come at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was actually at work picking up some materials for some of my guys. And my buddy texted me, and the message came out, and he was all like, as of right now, AR-15s are banned. And as soon as he said that, I shut my radio off. I went over to like the AM640 or AM68, whatever the fuck it is. I click on it, right? And they're going on, and they're going on about it. I'm like, oh, man. Oh, no. And then I'm like, shit. I'm like, I messaged my buddy. I'm like, where's the list? Is there a list? And then like 5 minutes later, I get this list. And like, I pull off the side of the road. I stop my truck. And I start flicking through it really quickly. As I get ARs, I'm like, oh my God, this is bullshit, man. I'm like, okay, well, right there, man, I got 3 guns gone right there, $4,000 a piece. Okay, that's a lot of money. Oh, okay, ARs, that sucks. I really love my ARs. And then I already had an idea about this 10,000 joules restriction. About 4 days before this actually got announced. Yeah. Which had me obviously severely confused because, like you said, long range. Typically, a good long range rifle that I like is high powered. Yeah. So then I started going down, and poof, there it is, 10,000 joules, and it's like, son of a bitch. And I start going down the list, right? It's just like 50 after 50 after 50 after 50 after 50. It's motherfucker, I got a KX50 in my goddamn safe. That's 10 grand in one goddamn rifle. Yeah. Besides the optics, besides the bipod, besides the reloading equipment, besides the ammo that's already in the house, that's a $10,000 rifle right there. Yeah. Gone. That I can't use anymore. I'm hitting the prime of the season when I like to shoot, and I can't take out my most badass rifle to use the thing. Not to mention, it doesn't have a single round fired through it. It's brand spanking new. Ouch. Like, that's a kick in the dick. Yeah. Like, Joe just stepped on my freaking nuts, and I usually don't handle getting my nuts stepped on that well. Yeah. And then it's like, okay, well, I just built a 338 Lapua that I love her. I pet her, and I hug her, and I hold her, and I sleep with her, and the dog sleeps with her, and she's a very beautiful girl. Yeah. And even though like I'm very into my reloading, I never actually look at the energy that a 338 makes. Yeah. So now I'm in panic mode. Like, is this that powerful, right? And it seems like they're only listing like 50s on this list, right? Yeah. It's all about the 50s. Yeah. And then I get down, I'm like, I'm not seeing anything about 338s or any particular 338s. And then I Google the energy, and the 338s are like 7,000 joules, high 6,000 joules, somewhere in that range, right? So the 338 safe. So I'm lucky there. But what really bothers me, besides all of it, and it's just ridiculous and it's stupid and it makes absolutely zero sense. Like, it's not going to save lives, man. You're just going to piss people off. This person, I'm pissed. I'm looking at my safe every time I open it up and go, well, there's 25 grand. Gone. If we get to battle this and we get to win this, awesome. If I get to keep my stuff, awesome. I should be able to keep my stuff. I worked very hard for this. I earned every penny for this. I was told I was allowed to have this. I was given permission by the federal government. I had to jump through hoops upon hoops upon hoops, a little bit more than the average person because of, who I am and stuff, but that's a whole other story. But I did everything I was supposed to do as a law-abiding citizen. I did every little aspect they asked me for, and then some. And I've behaved myself. I've been a good boy, and I wish I had gotten into this when I was in my much younger years. Yeah, because it would have stopped me from doing a lot of the stupid shit I did as a youth, and it would have saved me. It wouldn't have saved me a ton of money. It would have saved me a ton of money in law fees and tickets and stupidity. It wouldn't have saved me money because I would have been buying guns and more guns and even more guns. So
cars. Who needs a car anyway? A fast car, right? That's something that people don't understand. I think that a lot of people miss that completely. I always hear these arguments. You don't need a gun. You don't need an AR-15.
No, I don't need it. I want it.
You want it.
I don't need a muscle car, but I want it. Yeah. If I'm gonna do my muscle car thing in a legal way, I'm not hurting anybody. I used to be big into street racing when I was younger. Yeah. We'd be running from the cops all the time. Just stupid shit all the time, right? My insurance rates, I remember when I was 19 years old, I was paying $14,000 a year for insurance.
Whoa! Whoa.
Yeah, it was, and that was not even full coverage. That was just like basic insurance.
What'd you do? Run over a crowd of people?
I had a driver's abstract that was literally 3 pages long.
Oh my God.
I
would have had a field day with you. I would have pulled your ass over in a heartbeat. I would have given you such a
the amount of times I ran from the which is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, and you know what? And you grow up.
And we do.
You grow up. And I gotta tell you, you know, as a grown man, you are probably one of the most responsible, level-headed, you know, kindest people I know. And the very thought of punishing you to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars when you haven't done anything wrong makes me sick to my stomach. It disgusts me that anybody would do that.
It's horrible. I have to behave. Like everybody knows, and we've said it over and over here, like, oh, you know, my name gets put through a computer every single day, 24 hours. I get a background check every single day. This stuff sits in the back of my head all the time, every day. And, you know, people say, really, does it go through your head every day? Well, yeah, it does. Like, if I get into a confrontation with somebody, back in the day, it was a whole different story. Yeah. If I got into a confrontation, it was, you know, decimate first, don't ask questions later, just walk away. What's done is done.
Yeah.
Now it's, I got to find a way to de-escalate a problem as fast as I can. With my words.
Yeah.
All right. And I have learned to do so. And it's there. It's, if I do something wrong, if I do something stupid, I am going to lose everything that I have worked years and years and years to accomplish. Mm-hmm. Like, and just besides like losing like all of my guns and losing the privilege, I really don't like people say it right. Because we don't have the right to have guns. We have a privilege to have guns in this country, which I think is sad, but, you know.
Needs to change.
It does.
It needs to change.
I find it very entertaining. There's a lot of people don't even realize that we can conceal carry in this country. And if you call the firearms information offices, it's the first thing that you hear on the phone when you call them. So say I want to call and I'm like, you know, I got to change my address or do a transfer or whatever. Yeah. The very first thing it says, if you are looking for a permit to conceal carry, please push 1. It's there, like clear as day. Clear as day. You can call me like, yeah, man, I want a concealed carry permit. You ain't gonna get it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's
right?
You know what? I think what it should say is, if you want to go on our list of people we're gonna pay closer attention to, please press 1 now, because we're not giving you that shit.
You ain't getting it.
Right? You're not getting that. But it does exist.
It does. And unfortunately, it's the RCMP that makes the decision, not the federal government. And that in itself is a problem. You know, our police are there to police the laws that they have been told to police, not to make them, and not to decide whose life is more important than another. Like, as far as I know, from what I've been told, and I got like no credible information towards this, but what I've been told is that there are like 2 or 3 people in this entire country that actually have a concealed carry permit that have been authorized for it. Is that factual or not? I don't know, but that's the most that I've heard of that.
The numbers I'm told are very low, and there are a greater number of people that, for employment purposes, out on trappers lines in areas that are very remote, where they, you know, will encounter, you know, large predators, are granted the privilege of carrying a sidearm because their work necessitates that. But the number of people that are granted permits to conceal carry firearms for the purposes of specifically, you know, life protection, are outside of policing and security services and the military, are very, very, very low. Very low. You may be right with it, the numbers being that low. I'm not exactly sure. But I can tell you right now, though, that...
Well, it's kind of sad if you think about it, because a trapper goes out, and I get it, he needs, you know, to be able to take care of himself. You're out there, you know, you got some big game, some dangerous game, you know, and... Your long-range rifle is really not going to be that helpful at close-quarter situations. Sure, you can use it, but it's a lot heavier to move. It's a lot more awkward to move in close-quarter areas, especially if there's a lot of trees. You know, you go to swing to protect yourself with it. There's something like 6 feet away from you, and you smash your barrel into the tree because you don't realize that tree's there, because your situational awareness is completely attached to that animal. You know, a handgun, you know, or a big caliber handgun for a big game, you know, is going to be a lot more effective to protect yourself. So here's the problem. You're out there hunting, you know, doing what you got to do to survive, whatever. Your life is on the line.
Yeah.
and you've been permitted to use a sidearm to protect your life. So what is the difference between someone in the street putting a gun at me, risking my life, and a bear trying to rip my head off?
Well, I think, a lot of people ask me my stance on this subject, with having a background in policing. And my 20 years of service taught me one thing, that, there's a lot of people out there that probably should not be allowed to have access to guns. And that's why we have such a rigorous system in place that carefully screens and certifies people so that we don't have a lot of unnecessary violence involving firearms. And when you look at the numbers, the number of people that are involved in violent incidents with firearms that are actually licensed owners is so small that it doesn't even register as a percent. And that's something that I think that people really need to pay closer attention to. And certainly the latest tragedy in the Nova Scotia part of Canada, where we had a madman going on the tear with, various firearms that they don't want to talk about, and he was unlicensed. And when you look at the numbers, like, licensed owners are not part of the problem, and yet we keep getting painted up to be that way. But ultimately, as former law enforcement, I'm not too excited about the idea of carrying firearms the way we do in the U.S. Now, the U.S. is a completely different environment. The barn door's already open, and they certainly have their rights enshrined in their Constitution, and I don't disagree with that. It works for them, and quite honestly, when you look at the numbers there, the number of times that people deter violence using firearms or respond immediately to events using firearms are pretty high. They never talk about the number of lives that are saved.
No.
Right,
No,
by carrying firearms. Here in Canada, I don't think we're there yet. A lot of people talk about it. Coming full circle, when we talk about property rights and when we talk about the right to self-defense and when we talk about concealed carry, they're all three very separate things in my mind. And a trapper that's on a line is probably more likely to encounter potentially dangerous animals. And you're right. Working in the thick, swinging a long gun might be a bit of a problem. I can tell you that if something creeps up on you, and that's the way a lot of these animals attack people. When you look at puma attacks and mountain lion attacks, it's when you turn your back. That's when they come at you. So
they have the natural instinct to fuck you
right?
up.
Yeah, they'll freeze dead in their tracks when you make eye contact with them. But the minute you turn your back and run, they're going to be on top of you. So having access to something smaller, I don't want to say more portable, but something that while an animal's on top of you mauling you. And I mean, that's a realistic possibility for a lot of Canadians, because a lot of Canadians live outside the major city centers and do encounter these kinds of animals. When that thing's on top of you, you may only be able to access something as small as a sidearm, but powerful enough to deal with the threat. That I think that it's probably a good idea if you're out in those areas to have that. And I get your argument, I really do. I'm not, for Canada anyway, a concealed carry guy. And certainly I haven't been a big proponent of that when people have asked me, and I've been very clear about that. But I can tell you that it's a possibility, and it does exist, and that's something that a lot of people don't, really think about that often. And I mean, I wonder, and this is something I don't want to cross the line into tinfoil hats onto a parallel subject here, but I wonder, in an area, like Nova Scotia, where there are a lot of guns, there are a lot of guns out there. There are a lot of people that hunt. There are a lot of people that recreationally shoot and own firearms. I wonder how many people, if they had known that there was a madman roaming around going house to house, I wonder how many people would have, if they had known, gone and loaded up their firearms. I wonder. I know it's something that Billy Blair doesn't want anybody to even contemplate. But the truth is, like if you were at home and, you lived in a remote area of Canada and you got word that there was a madman on the loose dressed in an RCMP uniform, killing people, and you had access to your guns, and I don't want anybody to paint me up to be the guy that says, go get your guns and load them up, because that's not the case. But I wonder how many people, if they had known that truth, would have actually done that very thing and felt more comfortable. knowing that they had the ability to protect themselves. I wonder how, people would have responded if they had known something that, a lot of people were completely unaware of what was happening. And we can look at that one. I'm sure over time, nobody's really ever explained why so many hours had passed. And for anybody out there that would paint me up to be critical of the RCMP, I mean, it's not unfair to ask these questions. If they knew that this was going on and they didn't use that emergency alert to let people know why, I mean, like they use Amber Alerts and that type of system to alert people for seemingly much smaller things. I've never complained once about getting a loud ringing noise coming out of my phone at 2 a.m. because somebody decided to not come home. No, and I mean,
I find they complain about like, oh my God, man, 2 o'clock in the morning, this thing was going off. Yeah, that shit don't wake me up.
Yeah, see, it doesn't wake you up.
I wake up in the morning and go, oh look, there was an Amber Alert, But no, I think it's a completely effective device, absolutely. Yeah. And if they had done something, sooner, it could have saved lives.
It could have saved lives. I really do believe that. Without knowing enough, I mean, I think that if you just look at the time frames, it would appear, and I mean, I'm not sure about this, but it would appear though that some people were murdered, okay, by this unlicensed, madman who has nothing to do with our community, post the police knowing what was happening. Now, I realize they thought they had an area locked down and he slipped through. I get that. But, I mean, at some point, you would think that they would have issued that alert. And they didn't. And I think that that's a question that really needs to be answered. And there's a lot of questions revolving around that event that I think still remain unanswered. That
if they ever get answered.
Well, I find it interesting that these law changes and this giant list of 1,500 guns come down hot on the heels of reporters asking some very pointed questions, and almost immediately after it comes to light that he was an unlicensed party. I couldn't help but observe the discomfort level on the people that were asked that question when they should have definitely known the answer. Hey, was he an unlicensed individual or was he a licensed individual? Well, the investigation's ongoing. We don't want to talk about that. Was he licensed or was he not? We got to focus on the families right now. And I mean, these are important things, absolutely. But this is a simple question that could have been answered very easily. And they knew. Why is it that they didn't seem to want to answer that question? In fact, when I watched the police commissioner defer when she was asked directly, hey, was he a licensed owner? Simply, can you answer that question? And she turned to Billy Blair, and Bill Blair answered the question for her by not answering the question. I found that fascinating. And you know what? For every woman out there that feels very strongly, about a powerful, independent woman, being appointed to the position of police commissioner for the largest, federal police organization that we have here in Canada, for her to be asked that question that was meant for her specifically, and to see her turn to Bill Blair, who says he has no control, right, or sway over what the RCMP does, to answer that question for her. What a slap in the face to women everywhere. Like, I mean, a lot of people say that the gun issue isn't a woman's rights issue. I disagree. I think that anybody that stomps over another person's rights, it's only a matter of time. And there's a lot of women involved in this sport that run the risk of losing their firearms as well, that they love very much. So, not to get off topic here, but I mean, like that really disturbed me to see that. And, I was really curious to know, why it is that she turned to Bill Blair to have him answer that question. Why it is that Bill felt compelled to answer that question. And, I mean, I really do want to see a lot of answers to some of the things that went on there that we still don't know about yet. And instead, we have a wonderful list of banned firearms that you and I have to contend with.
And we still don't even know what guns were used in that incident.
Oh, God.
Oh, it was an assault-style, military-grade firearm. Yeah, okay, sure. Well, what is, like, every other shooting that's ever happened, you get this information, like, within, like, the next day, like, oh, some guy went out and shot at a bunch of people. He had a Beretta on him, or he had a Mini 14. This time around, we know that a firearm got taken off of an officer. that got put down. And, like God rest her soul. I appreciate what she did. She went fucking full sheepdog, man. You know, she tried to do her job to her fullest, and unfortunately, she lost the battle, and I feel for her and her family. But she was a fighter. That is obvious. She tried to do what she needed to do. And that's the only thing that I know. Okay, so what firearms do the RCMP carry out there? So, okay, he had one of those, but, there was an assault-style weapon that the guy was using, but we're not telling you what it was.
Not a lot.
It was probably a Ruger 5.97 22. Oh, my God. It's stupid. It is absolutely stupid.
And to play to the public's emotions, that are obviously running high following that event,
which I have absolutely no patience for whatsoever.
Here they are. They come out with a ban, and these firearms are not the ones being used in the city centers where violence seems to be erupting. Every single day we see something new in the news, whether it be a prohibited pistol, like once again loaded, was found on a criminal out there with drugs. Like every other day I'm seeing a shooting or a seizure involving firearms that aren't legally available in this country, and or again, they ban assault style rifles, which of course is kind of funny because when police carry them they're called patrol carbines. Patrol carbines. And
there's a huge difference.
Well, it's there's a difference in the way it's presented to the public, and I think then you've got to get into how the media is involved in this, and certainly when we talk about the police using these items that Billy Blair says are designed to kill the most people in the least amount of time, then why are our police carrying them?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, that's the question. Like, I mean, honestly, if we're going according to that logic, like, I mean, okay, if they're designed to kill the most number of people, I mean, the police are not supposed to kill the most number of people in the shortest amount of time, are they? Like, I mean, I get it, that there's clear and present danger out there, and you want to equip your law enforcement with the best stuff possible. I get that. All right, but don't characterize the gun as the problem.
No, characterize the individual.
The individual.
The gun can't do shit without the individual. So yeah, sure, I can go give an AR-15 to some random asshat that's got a 100-round drum mag attached to the damn thing. Oh, great, he's got 100 rounds. He doesn't have to change the magazine. But how trained is he with it? How well are his tactics? Like, that's what it really comes down to. If someone trains to do something horrible, if they put an actual effort into doing something horrible, and they plan it diligently in their head over and over and over again, odds are they're going to do something absolutely devastatingly horrible. You take an individual that doesn't know his ass from his face and give him the same thing, he's not going to get as far. He's going to get dropped like a 2-ton Tessie.
Well, two things that I'll take away from that is, one, all right, the type of person that typically applies for a license and actually gets it doesn't commit these crimes.
No.
Right? They're first of all, they're not the ones involved. So I love the idea of buying back or seizing firearms from people that are never going to use them in crimes. Basically, to everybody out there that's listening, if we end up as a country spending billions of dollars buying back guns that will never be used in crimes, that's pretty dumb. One. Two, you don't need a gun to hurt a lot of people. Has been demonstrated time and again in the news. If you just look, I mean, there's been trucks that have been used.
Oh, yeah, downtown Toronto.
Yeah.
How many guys that?
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions revolving that event as well that remain unanswered. But ultimately, I think that it's really important that people understand that the legal firearm community are not the people committing these crimes. They're the ones that have actually taken the time, invested the money. They've demonstrated historically that they're not involved in any kind of criminal activity, or that they're not going to present a danger to the public. And statistically, they're never involved in the crime. So, I mean, those people, taking guns away from those people and stomping on their rights to do it, and I mean, you can argue that it's not a right, but I don't care. At the end of the day, if you've got to use an order in council to blanket remove property, legally owned property from people, that's a bit of a problem. Like, for somebody, like you said, to wake up one day, snap their fingers and say, I really don't care what you think, and I don't care what the evidence dictates. And yeah, we said that we'd listen to the experts, but we're going to go our own way with this. I mean, there's a problem. There's definitely a problem.
Oh, absolutely there is. Like, I've always been vocal on, especially when you go online, you look at like the social media and stuff, and people are saying that like how dare they infringe on my rights? Like they're going against my rights. It's my right to have this. It's my right to own this. I always say a firearms license in this country is a lot like your driver's license.
Yeah.
It's not a right, it's a privilege.
Yes.
But that being said, it became a right. It became a right when I went and I jumped through my hoops and I did all the due diligence and I did everything that I was supposed to do to go get my license legally and lawfully. Once I did that and I went out and I started buying like these guns or whatever it is that I'm shooting, it's now my right to own it. It's my right to take care of it. It's my right to possess it. It's not your right to just decide one night you want to wake up and be all like, I want to make an example and I'm just going to ban all this freaking shit. Now you're infringing on my rights. You're infringing on me being able to wake up in the morning and go, you know what, man, I worked so hard for all this stuff that I have in this safe, and I have the right to own it, and I have the right to take care of it, and I have the right to go out and shoot it freely any single day that I want to, as long as I'm doing it lawfully. And now you just turn that right and that freedom that I have into I'm breaking the law. I got 2 years to hand over my shit.
Good point. I'd like to know, how is it that, before last Friday, we were trusted to own these things because we had earned, I think everybody has a right to apply for, a driver's license. I think everybody should have the right to demonstrate that they can be trusted to operate a motor vehicle.
Absolutely.
And it isn't until you demonstrate that you're an idiot,
you're gonna lose your license,
that you should lose your license. So it's a privilege, absolutely,
which I have experienced more times.
Yeah, right.
So we're trusted, and now I got the license, and I got the firearms, and obviously, I am not doing anything wrong because I still 6 years later now, I think 6 or 7, I've lost count. I still have them, so obviously I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Obviously, I'm not driving to the store with an AR-15 in my trunk to go grab the groceries. Obviously, I'm not out in the back 40 hunting a deer with this damn thing with, 100 drum freaking magazines shoved up its ass. Obviously, I'm not doing these things because I still have my license. Yeah. And then that drives, and that kills me when I'm watching that jackass of a prime minister that we have standing up in front of people saying that you don't need an AR-15 to take down a goddamn deer, man. You haven't been able to do that since before I was born.
Hold on. Unless of course, right? You don't need an AR-15. You don't need any prohibited firearms. They're far too dangerous, to be used recreationally or owned by people. But you know what though? We're gonna make an exception for the indigenous people, and that's not to say that I have anything against the indigenous people. Quite to the contrary. But I think that it's interesting. Basically, they're saying that there is no valid sporting purpose, recreational purpose, or hunting purpose connected to these guns. But we're going to allow the indigenous populations to continue using them that way. And it's like, well, hold it a second. Like, what's the definition, right, of discrimination, right? Because hold on, you're saying that I can't, but they can. I found that really interesting. Did you happen to notice that?
Oh, I noticed.
Right? It's not that I want to take away their right to use it. I just don't think you should be taking away mine. I don't even hunt, but I know people that use these types of firearms, these semi-automatic, firearms to hunt with, and obviously they have some valid, purpose in being used in that role, and they function in that role, and the indigenous populations use them that way, that they decided to make an exception for them. So how can they in one breath say that there's no legitimate sporting purpose connected to these guns, but we're going to allow them to continue hunting with them? So don't get upset. Right? Don't worry. We're not depriving the indigenous population of their right to hunt with these prohibited firearms. They'll be able to use them for the duration of the 2-year grace period before you're forced to hand them in. And I'm sitting there going, well, wow, you can't suck and blow at the same time, man. Which is it?
Oh, he's trying to find a way to suck and blow. And I got something you can suck up.
I knew you were going to jump at that one.
That is as being discriminatory as you could possibly be. Like in all reality, like, okay, so he's okay to have his semi-auto, but I'm not okay to have my semi-auto.
Yeah,
it's just it's the band's stupid, 100%. Everything about it is stupid, 100%. Like, you don't want me to have a 50 car? What are you afraid of? I'm gonna sit on top of my apartment building and take out a freaking airplane with the damn thing? Like, I just went 7 years of not wanting to be in jail. I don't want to be in jail.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to use this thing for what you think I'm going to use it for. I want to be able to take this thing out to the farthest distance that I can find, stretch that bitch out, and let her freaking fly. Because I want to see how good I am behind the damn thing.
Yeah.
That's why I have it. And that's why I want that. And I'm a freaking recoil junkie. Like, I'm the asshole
that
wants
are.
to go to the range, take the muzzle brake off of a 50, and then fire the damn thing.
You know what? I know how much you love long range shooting. So I mean, I know it's got to hurt you to hear about these bans, and certainly I feel for the entire firearm community that's affected by this. And speaking of that, you know, let's talk just briefly, because I'm going to do another podcast altogether on this subject. But the subject of shotgun bores and the 20 millimeter rule. I want to bring this up before I end this podcast, because I think it's really important. Obviously, we've had several different rulings. One day it's okay, one day it's not. I mean, the CSA delivered a release saying that the new legislation does include, shotguns, 12-gauge shotguns that use removable chokes, that the bore itself, without the choke in it, exceeds the 20 millimeter rule. And of course, Bill Blair comes out right away. I mean, this is the first time ever I think I've seen Billy Blair come out firing with an answer that fast. No, it doesn't. No, we're not attacking hunters. We're not attacking hunters. And immediately says that that's not the case. And then, of course, there's a ruling by the RCMP and the CBSA saying, yeah, it actually does qualify according to the letter of the law as written. So you either didn't mean to do it and you're incompetent, and you really didn't think this piece of legislation through very carefully, and you didn't word it correctly, or you slipped it in. And it's something that perhaps was going to be revisited at a later time. Who knows? With all the shady dealings that this government has had over the years, I expect nothing but shady business from this government, and I've learned. Yeah, I've learned.
It's already.
Yeah. But I found it interesting that it awakened a portion of our community that has been relatively silent through any kind of new legislative changes that include bans, and that's the shotgun shooters and the hunters. The people that own those, $20,000 Krieghoffs.
They got a quick wake up call.
Well,
we know it's always been I got bolt action rifles, I got shotguns, I hunt. I don't have an AR-15. I don't have a Beretta CX Storm, whatever the fuck it's called. I don't have a Robinson Armament XCR. I don't have any of these things. I don't need them. So they're attacking only these tactical freaking wannabe kind of guys. They're not attacking me.
Yeah.
And now here we are. Poof. Yeah. Oh, by the way, if you take your choke out of your barrel measures 21 freaking millimeters. Your shit's banned. And that's exactly what it says. It's just, they have cocked this bullshit legislation. They put it through as quickly as they could. No one ever went over it. Nobody read it. Nobody said, "Oh, hey man, here's a mistake. Here's a mistake."
No. Obviously they did, because now people are catching it and they're bringing it to the attention.
You're catching it.
Well, I think they thought they were going to slide one by the goalie, and it didn't happen. So I mean, now they're caught in kind of a bit of a jam. It's like, okay, no, it doesn't include them. So now there's been several different rulings on this that have come out. The latest one is that you don't measure the bore from the area of the choke, and that the entire interior of the bore. Yeah,
pretty much your bore only exists from the beginning of the beginning of your chamber, or the end of your chamber, however you want to look at it, to the beginning of where your choke's supposed to be threaded into. That little space in there, that's your bore. The choke area, that's actually a part of the barrel. Yeah, that part doesn't exist. That doesn't count for shit.
They've obviously tailored now their response to the interesting dilemma that they're in by saying the latest ruling is that it's not part of the bore, and that shotguns are not part of this equation. And the thing that frightens me most about this is that all those guys that felt for a split second the anxiety, that everybody with long guns, or what they would characterize as assault rifles, has been feeling for quite some time now, that they'll suddenly back out of this event and say, well, thank God I'm not involved. I would encourage everybody to fight fight this thing, like their stuff is on the line. So for those few hours that you spent worried about your stuff, if you're a shotgun shooter, if you're a hunter, if you own,
welcome to my world.
Yeah, well, yeah, you know what? You know what? Jump on board. You know what? You're part of our community. You're a very large part of the community. Given the response that we've gotten from Bill Blair and the changes in the media releases by the RCMP, it would strike me that they're a little bit afraid of waking up the sleeping giant in this that is the shotgun and hunting community. And I think it's happening, and I really, really love some of the things that are going on here. Little side benefits and perks to this thing. I mean, we've gotten the lobby groups all on the same page: the NFA, the CSA, the CSAAA, the CCFR. They're all kind of starting to come together and realize that we're in this fight together. Certainly, we're going to get a lot further by pooling our efforts, even if it isn't under one common umbrella. I love the idea of everybody at least being on the same page, and that's what appears to be happening now. And I really, really like the idea of the shotgun shooters, the trap shooters, the sporting clay guys, and the hunters getting on board this train, right, and pushing back against this unfair piece of legislation.
I got something for you to think about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so they're saying right now that we're not allowed to use them, and anything that's been banned, we're not allowed to transport them. Yeah. It's pretty much keep it in your safe, and we'll decide later on what we're going to do with your shit. And obviously Trudeau was talking about, well, we're not banning handguns. We're going to, try to push some kind of legislation by where the municipalities get to take care of that bullshit. Yeah. So, I live in Brampton. I don't give a shit if people know where I live. It's a horrible, horrible city. I'm sorry, man. There's big shootings on the 410 every other week at this freaking point. Not by law-abiding citizens, may I mention. Yeah. But, so, say I want to move right now. Yeah. So I want to move, right? So I'm going to say Brampton, I'm pretty sure is a liberal city. I'm not even 100% sure. Say they decide, just thinking outside the box, we want to ban handguns. Yeah. Okay, so now they push legislation through, and now the city of Brampton can ban handguns. Yeah. All right. Oh, shit, I got to move because, I got handguns. Yeah. I can't have them in the city limits. So I'm left with a choice. I can either sell my shit, hand over my shit, which is not going to happen, or I can move. Yeah. So say Oakville decides to say, no, man, we're not banning shit. No worries. We trust our law-abiding citizens. It's not a problem, guys. Don't worry about it. You're not getting attacked. Okay, I'm moving to Oakville.
You might be giving Oakville a little too much credit. You going to join the Oakville? You going to go to O-Town?
Shit out there, man. I really want to live on the lakeshore, okay?
You know what? For the record, I love Oakville. It's got a great...
Working in Oakville is clean.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move to Oakville. So now that I want to move to Oakville, now I got to call the RCMP and say, hey, man, I need a temporary ATT to transport all of my restricted stuff, regardless, my restricted stuff, to my new address. Yeah. But I got 3 ARs that they know about, and now I need an authorization to transport those ARs to my new residence.
Which they won't.
And I'm not allowed to move my shit.
Which they won't grant.
Reading on the shotgun clarification on their bore and their choke and all that crap, keep scrolling down, and they're explaining you're not allowed to transport, yada yada yada. They clearly state that temporary ATTs will only be allowed in limited numbers. And I don't remember seeing that there before. And nobody else has mentioned the thought of, if I need to move and I'm not allowed to transport my ARs or whatever's been banned, and they know I have this stuff because it's restricted, unlike my M305, which is non-restricted, and they don't know that I have it until now. Yeah. I know the birds are listening.
On the radar.
Either way, I got to ask for an ATT to transport this stuff. Yeah. Am I going to get it? So now am I left with the decision? If they say, no, we're not giving you that ATT. Yeah. We're not going to allow you to transport to your new place. Now you are forcing me to make a decision. Either I say, okay, well, I'm keeping my handguns and I'm moving and I give you my shit now so you can destroy it and I'm out thousands and thousands of dollars. Or I say, nah, I ain't playing that game, and I keep my ARs, and I keep my M305, and I keep the 50 in the safe, and I sell my handguns. One way or another, I'm getting fucked in the ass. Yeah. And nobody has thought of this, at least not that I know of. Nobody's mentioned, nobody's thought of it, nobody's brought it to attention that if you want to move, Are they going to try to force you to get rid of your shit now instead of later? And what kind of decision does that leave you with?
You know, the very idea that you would have to move because of something that you
it makes me sick in my stomach.
It makes me ill. Like, I mean, like, can you imagine if it was anything other than guns, folks? I
moved to one city. Next, you know, the next power comes into power in that city. And they say, "Oh no, we're banning handguns." I got to move again. I got to up. Like, for me, it's easy. I got my guns. I got my dog who is currently breathing down my neck.
Yeah.
And that's it. I just pack up my shit and I just leave. Not a big deal. I got kids, yeah, but you know, one's 19 years old. The other one lives with his mother, hour and a half, 2 hours away, and it's easy for me. But for most people that are stuck in this situation, it's not easy for them. They went and they bought a house and they've put roots down in that house, and they got the wife or the husband and the children, and they shouldn't have to be forced to uproot all of that stuff that they've worked so hard for to just be able to keep one thing that they enjoy doing legally. Yeah. Like, everybody's all like, "Oh, but you know, it's not a big deal. You know, they're just trying to ban guns." It's a lot bigger than just guns that they're attacking. Now you're attacking my household. You're attacking my entire family. You're forcing us to make this decision of, do I get rid of something that I enjoy doing or I was raised with? This could have been in my family for generations upon generations. And now you're forcing me to make this decision. It is absolutely uncalled for. It is stupid.
It's ridiculous. Certainly there wasn't a lot of thought put into it. Definitely wasn't any consideration given to the impact that this could have on people's lives. I always like to remind our audience, that's listening, that is just tuning in and has never really been around firearms. If you can just imagine something you really enjoy, that you find relaxing, that you've developed an affinity for, to the point where you will, plan vacations around it. You discovered the, clear therapeutic value connected to it. Firearm operation and legal ownership in this country is a fantastic thing. It's a community filled with incredible people. It's a diverse one. Our firearm population, legally owned guns, they really are the most diverse, inclusive group of people in the country, and we're definitely bearing the brunt of this liberal government's poor decision-making practices, and it's something that we're pushing back against. There's a lawsuit coming, and I mean, you've heard about the lawsuit.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a lawsuit coming that's been initiated.
It amazes me how much it even changes liberal style people. And my mother's a liberal.
Yeah,
she is.
How'd that happen?
And I don't know, man. I don't know. I think she bounces back and forth. Like, she's the true kind of person that will look at what the government's trying to do for every situation, not just one situation. Yeah. And she's definitely anti-gun. She's very. You met her once years ago.
Oh yeah.
It was on Mother's Day. I took her to the range for the first time in her life, and it was Mother's Day. I was spending time with my mom, like everybody else does on Mother's Day, and just for a joke, because she's seen some of the stuff that I have in the safe, and she doesn't understand what half the stuff is. And she sees it. She blatantly looked at me dead in the face. She's all like, "You shouldn't be allowed to own this stuff. Like, that thing in your hand right now looks like it could take on the country by itself." And it's all looks. This was a rifle that started off as a Savage Model 10 bolt action rifle. Yeah. It's the same as any other bolt action rifle, but now it's in an MDT chassis, and it looks menacing as hell, but it just shoots good. And I love that gun. But she just saw it for what it looks like. It kind of looks like that AR. It kind of looks it looks like a Stormtrooper gun from Star Wars, just painted Cerakote. And for shits and giggles, I was like, "Hey, Mom, you want to go to the range?" And she turned around, she looked at me, and she was all like, "Yeah."
No.
I was like,
"Yeah, that's right."
I was like, What? Seriously? She's like, "What, you want to go right now?" I was like, What?
I remember you telling me this story.
So I went home and I packed up all my gear and I threw my mom in the truck and off to the range we went, and it was her first day she ever shot 2 different ARs. She shot 1911 chambered in 45. Yeah. I had a FN long slide 9mm that she used. She even used my 870 12 gauge, my tactical one. Yeah. She used everything that I had, everything besides my bolt action, because it was a pretty cold day like today is. Yeah. And trying to do long range in the cold really, really sucks. Yeah. But her favorite gun out of all that wasn't the AR, and she wasn't a big fan of the AR, mostly because I have what you could actually call military grade ARs. Like, my shit is actually military grade, besides the fact that obviously it's not full auto.
Yeah.
She just didn't like the weight. It's a military. It's a Colt Canada SAS IUR. It's got a heavy barrel on it. It's been more fitted to be a combat rifle. Now, obviously, that we use it for combat. That's just how I like doing it. I like using heavy rifles. Yeah. I like doing competitions with heavy rifles. I'm the opposite of everybody else. That's why she didn't like it. It's an AR that weighs in the vicinity of 12 to 13 pounds.
Oh, wow.
That's a heavy AR, especially when my 458 AR weighs 6 pounds. Yeah. If I can make it lighter to make it heavier recoil, I would.
Is this the one that you buried in mud on me?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So she didn't like that just because of the weight. It was hard for her to lift.
Yeah.
She's an older woman. She's not a big woman. She's like 90 pounds wet.
Yeah.
It was a lot of weight. And that was the only reason why she didn't like it. She enjoyed the fact that it had like no recoil. It was easy to shoot.
Yeah.
But it was just the weight. What she really enjoyed shooting was my 1911 in 45.
No way.
She just kept going back to that gun over and over. And she was using it like a champ. Like, she was on target. She was hitting the steel. She was racking it out. And this is around the time that you actually met her. And I told you that she was anti-gun.
Yeah, I remember this now.
You went doing what you do.
Yeah.
And you went straight to her like, hey, so you're anti-gun. And she was all like, oh, actually, I am. And you were asking her, like, so this is your first time at the range? She's like, yeah. And you asked the question, so being that you're anti-gun, and obviously you're not that educated in firearms, now that you've been here for the first time in your life and you've got to, shoot a bunch of different things and you got to meet a bunch of different people, what do you think about it? And she was very quick to say it was not what I expected.
Yeah.
It was the complete opposite of what I expected. Because everybody says firearms and you automatically go American. Oh, America. Yeehaw, let's go in the backyard. Do. She was so amazed by how friendly everybody was. Everybody was trying to hand her stuff like, oh, you should try this. Oh, you should try that. They're all smiling. Everybody was happy. And coming from a car background, where you go to car shows in Canada, or not like car shows in the US. The car shows in the US, everybody backs everybody. Everybody's all like, they don't care what you drive, what make, model, what kind of modifications you're into. The fact that you're just into cars or trucks or whatever. The fact that you're just being able to be into changing it from factory to modified. They appreciate that. And everybody congratulates on the work that you did, regardless if it was a truck, car, whatever. In the US, they're very oh yeah, man, awesome. In Canada, it's like the complete opposite. Everybody says Canadians are nice. Nah, man, we're assholes. You go to a car show in Canada, man, everybody's bashing your shit.
Really?
Oh yeah, they hate you. If you drive if you're a Honda guy and you drive a domestic, oh my God, man, your car's a piece of shit. My Honda will tromp you. Oh, fuck your Mustang, crowd killer, freaking deluxe. It's a very hateful thing in this country. And that was the one thing I hated about cars. I can never go out and go to the street race, which obviously we're breaking the law, but I had a domestic car. Everybody else is, at that point in time, were driving imports, right? It's like, oh, man, you drive a domestic. You fucking suck, man. You suck. Oh, buy a Honda. I don't need to buy a Honda. Actually, I like Hondas. I never bought a Honda because everybody bought Hondas, and I always like to do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. The car realm, when it came to any time, even back then, it was very hateful.
Really?
Where I find that in the firearms community, it's totally different. It's like we know that we are a select few, even though our numbers are increasing astronomically as the years go by. I think it was, don't correct me, don't absolutely put me to this number, but I think it was 2017. I think they reported Ontario alone, licensed firearms people had gone up 14.6% in 1 year.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is absolutely nuts. And the numbers keep getting higher every year. So I do say select few loosely, but as a community, we understand that we're always being attacked.
Yeah.
We're always being looked at. We're always being frowned upon by the people that don't understand what exactly it is that we're doing. And because of this, we come together tightly. So when I go to the range, it's everybody at the range. It doesn't matter if they're shooting some old World War I kind of gun, if they got like an original 1911 from World War I, which I would just drool all over, or if you're running some like badass, you know, oh my God, tactical Barbie built AR-15. Doesn't matter if it's a $8,000 AR or if it's like some cheap freaking wrinkle that cost you $400 used. Doesn't matter if you got an SKS. Doesn't matter if you're using a shotgun, a break action, black powder. Doesn't matter if it's a handgun, IPSC, IDPA. Doesn't matter if it's long range, PSA, PSR, whatever you want to call this shit. We're all there for the same thing. We're all there to shoot. And it's like we have a level of respect for each other just because of that one fundamental thing. We're there to shoot. So we got each other's backs. And my mother caught on to that extremely quickly.
Really?
And it completely changed her outlook on it. Like, she's always been I understand people out in the sticks, having a hunting rifle, needing to hunt, sustaining for their families. I get that, and I support them 100%. But I don't understand why you in the city need to have the collection and the arsenal that you have and the type of guns that you have. And she always voiced that until she went to the range.
Yeah.
And then it completely changed.
Yeah.
Now she wants to know the next time she can go to the range. She wants to do it again. She's still not fully pro gun, but she gets why I do it. And now she supports why I do it. And when that ban hit, it was within like 10 minutes. My father didn't call me. My mother called me.
Nice.
She was all like, how pissed are you right now? And I was like, I'm pissed. I'm fucking pissed, man. Like, I'm like, Jesus, are you kidding me? Because my mom understands, you know, how much I've put into this. And obviously being my mother, she knows how stupid I was when I was younger, and she knows how much I've changed since I've gotten into this, and she's happy now that I've gotten into this. And coming from my mother, it's like just like wow. You better take you know what? You better take your mother out to brunch, you know, pick it up from some place that does takeout for Mother's Day. You just reminded me it's Mother's Day this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, and it's probably coming up on 4 years since your mother appeared at the range that day, and I saw her, and I do remember her now very clearly. And I asked her that question. I said, "Is it what you thought it was going to be? You know, would you do it again?"
And she was like, "Yeah."
And she said yes, and I was thrilled. And I mean, we had an exceptional group of people there that day, but not. You know, not too dissimilar from many days at the range. You know, always great people on the lines, willing to share their equipment and their passion for firearms. I know you feel very strongly about this subject, as do I. You know, it's really important that people get out there and bring their friends, bring their family, bring their colleagues, you know, their coworkers out to the firing lines and show them what an incredible people, you know, fill the ranks of the firearm community, and that's something that I think is going to be taken away with this ban. I can't help but notice they're allowing people to keep items, but they're not permitting transportation to the range where we can show people exactly what it is that we love about this. That one key thing, like, oh my God. And I remember there was once I was at the range, and there was a father there with his 3 daughters. Yeah. And they were shooting, you know, a couple small handguns. He had like 22s and stuff. You know, you started them from small to big. And I was doing my thing, and I had like both my ARs there, and they didn't have anything like rifle wise or anything big. And I always love handing my stuff over to kids. I always do, because kids don't know any better, right? Unless they've been raised with this hardcore and their parents have like the same kind of stuff that I have. They have that, even though they're there with their parents, and their parents have got guns, it's still that black evil AR. Yeah. So I always like handing that AR to people that have never had it before and have never used it, because they see it and they're like, whoa. They hear it fire, especially like my 10-inch barrel, but the muzzle brake on that thing is deafeningly loud.
Noisemaker.
It just rattles your brains when you fire it. So I've fired this thing off, and these girls have heard this thing, right? So they're scared shitless of this damn rifle. Like, it is the scariest thing they've ever seen. And I walk over to their father. I'm like, hey, if you want, they can use that. And he's like, oh, do you mind? I'm like, no, not at all, man. I'm like, I hand load my own stuff. I got a ton of ammunition. You know, I never asked for anything for it. I'll hand out ammo like crazy for you, just like you will.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, man, I'm like, I'm like, if they're cool, if they want to actually shoot it, like they can absolutely use it. They use as much ammo as they want. Because I find that the younger generation, once they get away from that fear of what it looks like and what it sounds like, and they get behind it, they realize what it actually does and what it actually is, you can't get them off of it.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't want to limit that from them, right? So yeah, man, you can burn through all my ammo. I don't care, man. Use it up. I'll just go load more. And I gave it to his first daughter. I think she was like only like 11 years old. Yeah. Small little thing. And I was like, I'll make it easy. It's a heavy rifle. I threw a bipod on it really quick so she could just shoot off the table. And she was scared of it. I was like, if you want, honestly, I'm like, I'll show you. I'll put the buttstock on my forehead. I will pull the trigger, and it won't even phase me. And she was like, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, it is a lot scarier looking than it is. She got behind it.
Yeah.
She fired off that first round, and she was hooked. She was hooked. And all three of them, they were just on that thing like clockwork. They're just firing and firing and firing. And
oh, sure, they can shoot the other guy's ammo all day long, I'll bet. You know what? And you're the only person I know that will offer to put the buttstock against your forehead to demonstrate that there's very little recoil. I love your teaching methods.
I find ways to try to give people comfort, because I find, like, as males, when it comes to guns, we can be scary to people, right? It's all like we're automatically looked at. We have like this macho attitude because we have guns, even if you are in the gun community. But if you're young and you're fresh to it, there's this macho element to it. Which is one of the reasons why I like teaching women to shoot more than I like teaching dudes to shoot. And just women are natural shooters, and they catch on quick and they absorb the information quick. So when I see a bunch of young women, getting brought up in this and being introduced to this, I want them to be able to be introduced to everything and all of it. Find what you like. Yep. Find what piques your interest in it. Like you said, when I started doing this as long range only. I only have my unrestricted. I didn't go for my restricted until after we originally met. And there's so much involved in this, and there's just so many realms that you can touch, between the bolt action, the handguns, the revolvers, the break actions, the black powders. There's just so much you can do. Mm-hmm. Why get yourself stuck just to one thing? Try everything. See what piques your interest. See what you really love. And still to this day, I love long range, but I love my ARs. Yeah. I love shooting fast. Yeah. I love big recoil stuff. I swore I would never, ever, ever, ever own a revolver. I swore I would never own a Norinco. I own a Norinco. I swore I would never buy an SPO2 Shadow because every millennial was buying them. I own a Shadow too.
You got a Gucci Glock?
No. Okay. So let's get this straight.
How do you feel about Glocks? Because I know you're a huge fan.
I am a 1911 fanboy, 100%. And before anybody criticizes me on this, the first time I ever shot handguns, there was one 1911 in 45, and there was one Glock in 9mm. What the Glock was, I can't remember. I can't remember if it was a Glock 19, 45, 52, whatever the hell you call these freaking...
You really don't like Glocks.
So honestly, the first handgun I ever shot was a Glock. It was a Glock, 100%.
Yeah.
And then I shot a 1911 right afterwards. And I instantly had an instant dislike for the Glock. I hate the grip angle on it. Yeah. I hate the grip. I got nothing against polymer guns. I own a polymer gun. Yeah. I'll buy another one. I got no issues with them. Yeah. I do like full steel guns more, just because of the weight. It's easier to mitigate recoil. Yeah. And I just like the way they function better. They always have like kind of a barbaric feel, a very mechanical, barbaric feel to it. Especially when my 1911s are dirty. I can literally feel the round fire off. I can feel the slide come all the way back, and I can feel it go all the way back in the battery. It just feels very barbaric. I like that.
It's 100-year-old technology. Of course, it's going to feel a lot more mechanical.
Even as well tuned as my Philippine-made piece of shit is, it still works like a champion.
You getting down on the Sammy now?
No, I
love that Sammy.
I love my Sammy. It is like ridiculously accurate for a gun that I only paid $650 for.
Brent, you know Brent Gas Rider.
Yes, has one.
He got his. It was like $395.
Yeah,
he got him before they started to climb in value when people realized they were actually a decent made gun.
Like 5 years ago, I think it was. It was the first handgun that I bought. I had already bought an an M&P9 for my ex or my girlfriend at that point in time. I wasn't a big fan of it, mainly because of the trigger. The trigger's on its garbage. Couldn't hit a broadside of the barn with it, which I really feel bad for the law enforcement in Brampton because they have M&P 40s, and I couldn't hit a broadside of a barn with a 9mm with this thing. How do they use a 40 in that thing? I feel so bad for them. When I bought the Sammy, I paid $650 for it. It was the top of the line one, so it was their Thunderbolt.
It was the Thunderbolt. I remember
full
that.
Stainless steel. The only horrible thing that I did not like about it from out of the box was the grip. It was plastic. It was very cheap, very shitty, which is fine. The grips are easy to change. They're cheap. The only problems that I've had with that gun was the safety. The safety broke on me twice.
I remember this.
I don't know how, but I figured that.
You took the thing apart. I remember how. If you don't remember, I'll enlighten our audience. You took that thing apart and you put it back together, and then the safety fell off.
Oh, this is my mechanical know-how.
You broke it.
Yeah. I broke it. It broke when I was using it. It snapped right at the pin where the pin goes into the frame. It snapped there. Now, I would consider it was due to the fact that yes, it's a $650 gun. So no, it's not like going out and buying a Cavett. Right? You're not buying a $10,000 1911. So the safety was made out of what we would call a powdered metal, kind of like the extractors that they use on H70s. Yeah. There's powdered metal and there's the non-powdered metal ones, and people have problems with the powdered ones because they break easy. The safety's powdered metal. I'm pretty sure the hammer on it's powdered metal, and the trigger's powdered metal. The frame, the slide is stainless steel. Tight clearances. I think it was stupid tight when I bought it. Like, I thought there was something wrong with it. It was so tight because I couldn't even get the thing apart. I couldn't even get the extractor out of the frame. And I'm watching YouTube videos. The guys are just dropping them out like they're butter. And I'm sitting there with a pry bar trying to pry this thing out. So the safety was a problem. I broke it twice. I solved that issue. I went to Double Tap Sports. Great. I forget his name. Josco. Thank you.
Great guy.
Who loves Salem so much. I got one of his custom big shelf safeties. I had that installed on it. Never had a problem with it since. The only other problem I had with it was the rear sight. The screw that holds the sight down because it's an adjustable sight. The screw snapped off. And I
you're rough with your shit, eh?
I am. I'm brutal with my shit.
You got that mechanical background, man. You're not torquing wrenches and break.
Well, guys are like taking their shadow tools and they're very gently putting it on the bench on top of a cloth. I'm the guy that's all like, yo, I'm gonna wrap a rope around this thing, tied to the back of my truck, and drive down the street and let it just bang off the ground.
I once saw you take a $3,000 AR-15. What was it for? Oh God! You know what? It was a Colt Canada with an S. Was it the SAS upper?
SAS upper, 10.5-inch barrel. It's a Tactical Innovations lower. It has a full adjustable trigger tech trigger in it. We still have the photos from that day. You were covered in mud. Oh yeah, that was a great day out on the line. What I think I can't remember. I think I had the red dot optic on it with the magnifier. Obviously, everything was mil spec on it, like that shit matters, but it was a $4,000 AR-15. I'll cut you off right there because I'm going to finish up things very shortly here. But you actually, it was funny. For those of you that have never shot with FourFists before, he's a little bit rough with his equipment. And, for somebody that just invested $4,000 of his hard-earned cash in a rifle, and there's been any question at all about how reliable AR-15s are, when it comes to, Colt Canada quality and the quality of that upper that you put on that thing, you decided that you were going to drop it into a puddle of mud and then kick mud onto the gun. Literally... He bolt open mag out, buried his gun in this mud pool and kicked mud into the gun and covered it completely. He lifted it out, shook it, racked the action a couple of times, and started firing this thing just to prove a point. And I'm thinking, that's a $4,000 gun. I'm one of those guys that I like to put my guns on the bench on cloths, and I like to take care of my stuff. But you're a little rougher than that. It was just entertaining to watch. I had never seen anybody do that to a $4,000 piece of equipment. I have a belief. Everything in my safe has to be able to function. If it does not function, I have absolutely no use for it. So I have no issue spending the money. I'm not rich by no means, but I could have a massive gun collection with the money that I have put into my firearms. It could be absolutely massive. But it's not. I probably got 13 guns, which is still a lot of firepower, but all of them are typically top of the line, a lot of money invested in them, so that when I get behind it and I go to use it, it's going to work. It has to work. And in my mind, everybody's like, yeah, you know, as long as you keep it clean, you know, keep an AR clean, it's going to work. If you keep your 1911 clean, it's going to work. My Sammy right now probably has about 2,000 rounds through it. I have not cleaned it.
No.
In like 2 years.
Really?
I have them off the barrel. I'll literally just open the slide, dump oil in the thing, close the damn slide, and
Shame
start
on
firing
you.
freaking
Shame
rounds.
on you.
And even though the slide will feel slow, it'll feel gummy.
Yeah.
She works.
She works.
So this whole thing of like, oh, you know, like 1911s, they got to be like thousands and thousands of dollars to make it work properly. No, they don't. You just got to, you know, take care of it, clean it. But I don't clean my shit. I don't clean my bolt action rifles. I'm pretty sure my 308 has had about 2,000 rounds through it before I even come close to mopping the barrel.
You know
But
what?
they work.
You have obviously gone the quality over quantity route. I know that you're a big fan of function over form.
Oh, absolutely.
And you use what works, and certainly the firearms you own are competitive pieces, and you've used them that way, and you've used them lawfully, and to entertain yourself, to relax, to compete, and to push yourself and excel. Again, I've really always enjoyed seeing you out on the firing lines. You've always been a lot of fun to talk to, and I'm going to wrap this thing up by asking you one simple question. I wanted to ask you this. I know you're a huge fan of the 1911. If you could own any 1911 made today, any one, what would it be?
It'd be a Cabot.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
like my. I would say Cabot because I would use it.
Really?
I don't care how much it costs. I would use that. And I wouldn't even care which Cabot it was, as long as it was a Cabot. I like the idea that one of the best 1911s, and it's what a lot of people don't realize in this country. A lot of the best 1911s right now are come out of that factory.
Yeah.
The guy that is the CEO of that company is Canadian.
No.
Just like...
That's right. Oh my God, I forgot that. That's right.
Oh my God, we're not gun people, but one of the best 1911s made on the planet is made by a Canadian. Bar none. The best AR-15 on the planet is a Damaco. Even the Americans know it. It's made in Kitchener.
Yeah.
It's made by Canadians. One of the best long-range sniper weapons on the planet comes out of Cadex in Quebec. Canadian. PGW gun, like Prairie Dog Gunworks. Badass Timberwolf bolt-action rifles. Made in Canada. We make some of the best firearms on the planet. And nobody seems to recognize this. So yeah, I would buy a Cabot. 100% would be my go-to.
Right on.
But if I had like an absolute dream 1911.
Yeah.
Dream 1911. And this would be I'd be questionable about using it at the range just because I wouldn't want to see something bad happen to it. It would be an authentic 100% straight out of World War I 1911. It'd have to come from World War I.
Yeah.
Just because it's as true 1911 as they come. It was, I've been in this shit. I've seen this shit. The guy that had me either shot at shit or had his shit shot at. It's one of those collection pieces that you have that you just get to sit back and you go, that is what helped make the world that we live in better today. And it could just sit there. I might take it to the range. I might fire off 1 or 2 rounds at a thing. I don't want to see anything bad happen to it.
I'm going to have to, I may have to dig around and see what I can find for you. You know, we get all kinds of guns coming our way here at the Canadian Gun Vault. Well, you know what? I got to tell you, it's been a great podcast talking with you, buddy. It's always fantastic seeing you, and I've been really interested to know what your take is on things, so I'm glad we got together to do this. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure being here, man.
Right on. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to support your lobby groups, the CCFR, the NFA, the CSSA, CSAAA.
Fuck the liberals.
All right. I got to slip that in there. You know what? I don't blame you one bit for being dissatisfied with their performance, buddy. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and on Instagram. And as always, Canada, don't forget to shoot straight. Stay safe.